Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We still have our special coverage on Nile TV International, and we have with us over the phone Dr. Ayman Ghoneim. He's an economic and legal expert, and we were talking about the Africa Forward Summit, Africa-France partnerships for innovation and growth that will be taking place tomorrow in Kenya. Dr. Ayman, tell us more about this summit, please.
Well, actually, France is now trying to move with the Africa-French partnership from the old model of aid and influence to a new model of economic partnership, energy transformation, infrastructure development, technology transfer, and industrial development. Actually, the African-French partnership is very strong, and historically also it has been deep-rooted. Of course, France has a strong cultural presence, especially in North Africa and in the Francophone countries. That's one thing. And second, regarding the economic cooperation, particularly, we have a foreign direct investment stock of France that amounts to around 50 billion euros in the African continent. This includes energy investments in liquefied natural gas facilities, petroleum excavation, petroleum transportation, as well as financial services, banks, different financial services, industrial facilities, manufacturing facilities. The bilateral trade between France and the African continent.
I was just going to ask you about this, Doctor. How do you view the France engagement across the African continent lately?
Well, actually, the France has been highly engaged with the African continent, and if we look at the bilateral trade, in 2024, the French exports amounted to around 28 billion euros to Africa. While France imported from Africa around 14 to 15 billion euros. Of course, most of the French imports from Africa are raw materials, including petroleum, liquefied natural gas, as well as textiles and semi-finished goods, cocoa and coffee, rubber and uranium. The French exports, of course, are high-tech exports. They include finished goods, pharmaceuticals, machinery and equipment, infrastructure facilities, as well as financial services. France has been keen to help Africa and to engage with Africa, especially that many of the African countries today are engaged in developing their infrastructural and industrial capacities. Many of the African countries are trying to move from the model of importing finished goods and exporting raw materials. They are trying to localize the industries and the inputs of industries, as Egypt is doing. And here, of course, we have to notice something very important, which is the French President, Emmanuel Macron. He visited Egypt just before this summit, because he understands, and France understands very well, that Egypt is the gateway to Africa, politically and economically, through Suez Canal, through trade corridors, whether land and air trade corridors, and through, of course, the Egyptian leadership and presence in the African continent.
Sir, the summit aims to demonstrate the African continent's innovation capacity and also affirm a shared commitment to developing common solutions based on effective spirit of transformative partnership. Tell us more about this.
Well, actually, Africa has been trying to develop its infrastructure and to develop its industrial base, because as the African leaders and African peoples now, they understand very well that a big part of the economic problem and big part of the high poverty rate that still sustain in Africa is because of the economic model of Africa has been mostly towards importing finished goods and exporting raw materials. That's why the African continent is now trying to build on its competitive advantage, on the abundance of labor, on the expanding population, expanding markets, and of course is trying to cooperate with different economic powers, not only France, not only the European Union, but there is a growing Chinese, for example, Chinese interest in the African continent through initiatives like the Belt and Road Initiative.
Yeah.
That's why many of the world economic powers are now interested to transform their partnership with Africa to new horizons and to transform such partnership into industrial and infrastructural development partnership.
Yeah, I want to ask you one final question about the part you're talking about the influence of other countries like China and Russia, United States are all rushing to compete for making influence in Africa lately. Tell us more about this, Dr. Ayman.
Well, actually, the economic confrontation between the big economic powers, the U.S. and China last year, it showed quite well that the international economic theater is now being reshaped.
Yes.
The economic relationships between different countries are now being restructured. And both the U.S. and China, as the two leading economic powers in the world, the biggest two economies in the world now, they are trying, each is trying to build alliances with developing countries in order to substitute part of the exports to each other that they had to forego, of course, due to the tariffs and the tariff war between the two powers.
Yeah.
And that's why, and especially China is trying to move part of its production facilities outside China to avoid the possible and potential tariffs. Although, of course, such tariffs were postponed in October 2025, part of them till June 26, and the rest till the end of 26. But this is a form of moratorium, actually.
Yeah.
This is not a final settlement. Still, we don't know what will be the final trade agreement between the two powers and the effect of such trade agreement
on Africa,
on the ability of each one to export to the others. And that's why it's expected that China, as a pragmatic power, to try to shift part of its production facilities outside. And here, of course, we have to mention that Egypt has equipped itself very well, especially in the Suez Canal economic zone, to receive such investments, capitalizing, of course, on its competitive advantage, on its geopolitical position, on the infrastructure that is built in the Suez Canal economic zone, improving the efficiency of 6 ports along the zone and 4 industrial economic zones.
Yeah.
So it's expected that other European countries and other economic powers will try to exploit such growth in Egypt as well as in Africa.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Ayman Ghoneim, economic and legal expert, thank you very much for joining us today in our special coverage. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of our edition today of the special coverage. Stay tuned for more special coverage on top of the hour. Thanks for watching.